On 6th October 2014, Igad mediators said the Bardar round of peace talks made substantial progress than any other. In a press release by the Office of the Special Envoys for South Sudan, the mediators encouraged stakeholders to continue with the positive efforts exerted during the Bardar round of talks, adding that the negotiating parties demonstrated a great deal of political will and seriousness to close gaps on critical issues under discussion. Among the issues the participating stakeholders discussed were the system of governance, function or mandate of the Transitional Government of National Unity, structure and size of the legislature, pre-transitional and transitional period, decision-making mechanism in the Transitional Government of National Unity, dispute resolution mechanism in relation to the agreement, duties and responsibilities of the executive. The mediators said the absence of the other political parties during that session was harmful to the process, adding that the mediators would work to ensure that competent parties participated in the next round of negotiations. Saturday, 18th October 2014, stakeholders in the Igad-led peace talks briefed the general public in South Sudan on the progress made in the peace talks in Ethiopia. Speaking during the briefing at Nyakron Cultural Center, the Minister of Information and Broadcasting said the contribution of other stakeholders in the peace talks should be to bridge the gap between the two warring parties.
Stakeholders are aligning with stakeholders to come and bridge the gap between us and the rebels. Kuna Mahmoud Wakayanu, the stakeholders haijeti haruegulu wala nena sa maslaha zatu unena dairini. What happened? The stakeholders became real stakeholders. Ubiga bigu ashab maslaha affairs. After being rebels or after being Fumadan. Ukhachu fi taksim bita sulta, ubigo yedu nafsam. They develop a shaka batai, ubiga yekulu, emina kida, wanade hukuma kida, rebels kida, and so forth.
Ustaz Joseph Okal, who is also a member of the delegation of the government of the Republic of South Sudan to the peace talks, blamed Igad for delaying to bring peace to South Sudan.
Ufi Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, Section 4 كنا بنتكلم لغة واحدة مع الحكومة لكن لما أصل وعملنا I have a document, position paper, a roadmap. عملناه شهر 2 دور بتاع الأحزاب وقلنا our position is that the negotiation will be between the warring parties, the SPLM and the SPLA in opposition. والدور بتاعنا is to encourage them عشان يوصلوا للسلام بسرعة.
The spokesperson of the SPLA, Colonel Philip Igad, said the SPLA was ready to defend the sovereignty of South Sudan.
The mandate of the army. The army is an implementer. It implements the policies, security policies of the government. So whatever the government decides, whatever the government reaches with the rebels, the army will implement its part. So we will not let you down. The army will always be keen to maintain the sovereignty of South Sudan.
The gathering listened to representatives of various stakeholders.
It is not easy. It's taking a lot of effort and energy, but people are trying hard to make sure that peace is coming for you and me and for the children at home.
Realize this nation is our nation. And you cannot wait when the nation is in crisis. You cannot wait to be called to go and do this.
The next round of peace talks was expected to resume on 27th October 2014. Wednesday, 22nd October 2014, a mini summit of Igad heads of state and government was held in Juba.
Consult on the outcomes of the Bahar Dar session of the South Sudan peace process. The Bahar Dar session identified a few key outstanding issues to be discussed at the heads of state and government level. Before the mini summit, consultations have been held with Dr. Riek Machar, the leader of the SPLA in opposition, to understand the key concerns of the opposition in relation to the outcomes of the Bahar Dar session. At the Juba consultations, a breakthrough has been achieved on the outstanding issues to be finalized at the next Igad summit.
Thursday, 23rd October 2014, the President of the Republic, Salva Kiir Mayardit, who is also the chairman of SPLM, chaired SPLM Political Bureau meeting in J1. The representative of SPLM Secretary General, Gabriel Alak, said the meeting briefed the SPLM Political Bureau members on what transpired during the mini-summit of Igad heads of state and government held in Juba.
Today, it was called by the SPLM chairman, Comrade Salva Kiir Mayardit, to come and brief the leadership of the SPLM, the members of Political Bureau, the members of the NLC, and the leadership of the SPLM in the parliament and the government, to brief them on what he discussed with the Igad heads of state. So he made a good briefing. The briefing was very useful, and he briefed all the members on what they have discussed with the Igad heads of state, and he told the gathering, the meeting, that there will be a summit in a week time, possibly in Addis Ababa, whereby the details of what they have discussed will be out. So there are no details at the movement, but he has discussed with the heads of state. That came yesterday, and in a week time they are going to meet again to discuss more on the issues of negotiations in Addis Ababa between the government of the Republic of South Sudan and the rebels, SPLM in opposition, and the former detainees. So I think it was a useful discussion because it was on the issues of peace that he had to brief the members of the leadership of the SPLM, and the chairman, our chairman, is committed to peace, and he promised the people of South Sudan that peace will achieve peace this time.
Tuesday, 28th October 2014, the Igad-led South Sudan peace talks resumed with consultations of stakeholders. The mediators began consultations with the government delegation to the talks, and other stakeholders followed. The consultations were to draw agenda for that round of talks. Igad mediators called that round of talks 7th session of Phase 2 of the Igad-led South Sudan peace process. The Igad heads of state and government summit was expected late that week.
Well, the main reason is that, of course, there is no way we can realize full implementation of the cessation of hostilities if the matrix is not signed. And this is why we as a government have been pressing on the rebels so that we sign the cessation of hostilities matrix, because the matrix gives us the details for the operationalization of the cessation of hostilities. The rebels have been resistant to that. Not that only, but they are continuing to violate the cessation of hostilities agreement. Since last Monday up to yesterday, they have been bombarding Nasir town, and yesterday morning they mounted 3 waves of attack on Nasir town in an attempt to capture the town from the government forces. But their forces were repulsed, and the situation is now normal. This is how we are moving, but nevertheless, despite the violations by the rebels, that will not change the position of the government. We will continue to talk peace, we will continue to negotiate until we reach peace, because peace will not be reached through violence, but through talks on the table.
Then the government's delegation to the Addis Ababa peace talks called on the rebels to choose either peace talks or war. The Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Michael Makwei, said the government ran out of patience and would not sit with its hands folded if the rebels attacked again.
In case the rebels attack our forces again, we will not tolerate that. We will give them a hot pursuit and end up with wherever they go. So we are here giving the final warning and informing the Igad as well, and the mediators and the Igad and the African Union and the international community that the government of the Republic of South Sudan is running out of patience. These indisciplined rebels who do not even respect documents that they have signed, we will not be in a position to tolerate anything again if they attack us. So if the rebels believe in war, and if they have opted for war, then let them, we want Igad to ascertain from them which option do they want. If they want war, let them tell us so that we go and fight. Some of us here can be in uniform soon. Some of us here are retired officers. And we can put on, it's a question of put on your uniform and you go. You will not need any further training. So, or else, if the rebels want peace, they must abandon all this nonsense which they are doing on the ground.
Makwei said the Igad mediators were toothless and proved that they could not act on the violations by the rebels.
We have come to know now that the mediation has no teeth to bite. And not that only, but it is the government which is all the time threatened with sanctions and with whatever. Meanwhile, the rebels are allowed to go at large.
A member of the delegation to the talks, Martin Majut Yak, said there could not be fighting as well as negotiations.
If we had accepted to come here for peace, as was said by our spokesman, and we found ourselves alone sitting here and other stakeholders are not here, is it the way we should handle the talks? And then to be surprised that our positions are being attacked. If they were to capture the NTU yesterday, we would have withdrawn. We would have gone back to Juba and go in for offensive to see what they are doing.
Another member, Beatrice Aber, said Igad used blanket accusations and promises of punitive measures which Igad did not apply.
If you can all remember, in several communiques of Igad, they have been talking of punitive measures to whoever violates. Unfortunately, there have been several violations and Igad has not done or has not implemented whatever punitive measures they keep referring to.
Meanwhile, Igad mediators released a press statement and for the first time condemned the rebels for the attack in Unity State. 1st November 2014, stakeholders in the Igad-led peace talks to resolve the South Sudan conflict started discussion on transitional security arrangements. Transitional Security Arrangement was Chapter 2 in the protocol signed by Igad heads of state and government in August 2014. The Transitional Security itself comprised of two major areas, that is, the permanent ceasefire and security sector reforms. The stakeholders would therefore separate the two issues and tackle one at a time.
As the head of the Security Committee on the part of the government of the Republic of South Sudan, we have been looking at the general principles of the general ceasefire, the permanent ceasefire, and we have been able to harmonize the position of the various stakeholders. That includes all the stakeholders, but basically the two parties which are directly involved in the conflict is the SPLM-IO and the government of South Sudan team. And we were able to harmonize these positions, and we came with general principles that will guide the technical teams which are likely to be convened very soon from our senior generals who will be now undertaking the exercise of working the details of a permanent ceasefire agreement that will be signed as a result of whatever political settlement that will come.
We continue to work on harmonization of various documents. One of the documents is humanitarian concern, and we are working on a detail and harmonizing our position, various positions, so that it can form one document which can be ready for the principal in the forthcoming summit. The second document is transitional justice, reconciliation and healing. And the third document are the parameters of constitutional making process. We are working on this document because we do have different positions as parties and as groups. As we are waiting for the summit to take place, we are trying our best to put all these documents in one document to form a kind of an agreement that could be given to the principal, a text, a one text.
It was expected that issues such as structure, composition and mandate of the transitional government would only be tackled after a summit of Igad heads of state and government.
Today we are only receiving presentations from the experts on issues of concern. It is after the presentations that now the delegates would now sit to negotiate on all the outstanding issues. So at present, we have nothing to say, but only to listen and react to the presentations. This is what is happening. This is what happened yesterday. It will happen today. It is happening today, and it will continue tomorrow. Igad heads of the state are meeting on Friday.
Okay. One question, Mr. Minister. Some civil society here, they are saying by failing to sign an agreement on the 60th day, you have killed the hope and expectations of the people of South Sudan, the two parties. What is your reaction to it?
That is what they think. They think that negotiation is an event, and they think that we can just sign within a day and night. My message to them, to those people, is that it is not an easy thing. It is not an event. It is a process, and for that matter, we should not expect things to be done hastily. In search of peace, you need to negotiate. You need to negotiate a good, lasting and durable peace. This cannot just be done hastily because we are racing with time.
Are you hopeful you will reach a peace?
Definitely, peace is just around the corner.
Sunday, 2nd November 2014, a representative of faith-based group at the Addis Ababa peace talks, Bishop Isaiah Majok Dow, called on all South Sudanese to pray and have hope that peace would return to the country, adding that God has not abandoned the people of South Sudan.
All of us in our country, we need a spiritual transformation. If God transforms our hearts and our minds, we will have no problem with peace and with one another. So all of us, from top to bottom, we need the transformation of God so that peace can prevail in our country, in our homes, in our neighborhood. And all we need God. The help of God is what we need at this time. With all the crises and all the problem we have, like Naaman, God has not abandoned us. He loves us and will give us that transformation that we need.
الناس جنوب السودان إنه المفروض نعترف إنه في ربنا واحد، في الله واحد، بقدر يحل مشاكلنا، مشاكل شخصية أسرية وبتاع مجتمع بتاع بلد السودان. دي رسالة أجانا من مطران عزيزة داو ليلة، وأتمنى إنه نحن نتي ربنا عشان مشاكل بتاعنا بتاع الجنوب ده يتحل بطريقة زي نعمل حل المشكلة بتاع الجزائر.
Tuesday, 4th November 2014, stakeholders in the peace talks in Ethiopia continued with negotiations. A member of the delegation of the government of the Republic of South Sudan to the talks, James Cook, explained.
We continue to work on harmonization of documents. The documents that we discussed today was the security arrangement and the permanent ceasefire. The gap is still very wide. There are so many areas of disagreement, but we feel this happened because we have not yet involved technical committees. And I think with the experts and with the work of technical committee, there are certain terminologies that may not be necessarily known to politicians, but technical committee can work out. Most of disagreements today was on the wordings. There are some wordings that are not favorable even for reconciliation, and therefore we will continue to work on them. But mostly we would have a need of a technical people who will take us through different experiences, including the one of the CPA, because Rebel have a lot of new things that they have introduced, which are not in line with the international standard of ceasefires or security arrangement.
James Cook reiterated government's commitment in bringing peace to the country.
I would like to inform our people in South Sudan, and wherever they may be, that your government is committed to bring about lasting peace. Your government is focusing on issues that will bring peace, and it will never repeat itself again. Like this issue of transitional and healing process. Transitional justice and healing process is a document which is very important, because what happened to you as people need you to reconcile among yourself.
The stakeholders formed two committees that were working simultaneously. One committee was on transitional security arrangement. The other committee was that of leadership, and the meeting was chaired on rotational basis. Wednesday, 5th November 2014, a member of the delegation of the government to the peace talks in Ethiopia, James Cook, called on the people of South Sudan to keep hoping for peace. The negotiations focused on transitional security arrangements, which comprise of permanent ceasefire and security sector reforms. James Cook urged the people of South Sudan to have hope. Sunday, 9th November 2014, the government and the SPLMA in opposition signed the rededication to cessation of hostilities agreement and the matrix for implementation of cessation of hostilities agreement.
Sudan oye! South Sudan oye! Igad oye!
The Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Michael Makwei, said the negotiators had passed the biggest hurdle and peace was nearer than ever before.
With the signing of this agreement now and the addendum, which is the implementation modalities, which is called the matrix, this actually marks the beginning of a real cessation of hostilities. Because with this document now, all the forces will be required to provide their deployment, their armaments, and with this now we'll be in a position to open up the humanitarian corridors and so forth. So this is actually a cornerstone in terms of cessation of hostilities, and with this begins the real cessation of hostilities with immediate effect.
Makwei reiterated government's commitment to bringing peace in the country.
Peace is just around the corner, and I think with this we have passed most of the thorny areas, and we are optimistic that with this we will reach peace and our people will live in peace. It is our hope that we will be in a position to accomplish all this and sign peace.
The Igad chief mediator, Ambassador Siyu Mesfin, said the signing of the two documents was a turning point in the peace process.
This is truly a great day, not only for the people of South Sudan, but for the entire region, because this is again a commitment in the implementation what the two principles in front of the summit, in front of their people and the international community declared that the war in South Sudan is over.
The talk was then adjourned.
بلد عظيم بلد أخضر جنوب سودان شعب كريم أرض مسلم جنوب سودان بلد عظيم بلد أخضر جنوب سودان شعب كريم أرض مسلم